Hello and Happy New Year. My name is Frederike, and I'm happy to welcome you to our today's Coffee and Consulting, the first one this year. I hope you all started well to the year, and I wish you still a wonderful, successful, healthy, and happy 24. We will start today with our coffee consulting with the topic of securing tomorrow, navigating social security challenges in a global context. Still, when we are looking back from last year, in our opinion, on a daily basis, we think that social security challenges are the ones which we have to look at and look at the most, because the consequences it will trigger in case someone is not covered in the right system, not the right contributions are paid, the consequences will be the highest and the most demanding ones. Therefore, we thought our today's event, coffee consulting event, will be about that topic. There are a couple of basic principles, and basically, if you look at the global or if you look at international employments or global employments or people working not in just one country but more than one, or assignments, then there are a couple of principles you can break down. And if you look at them for each situation individually, then you also will find easily the right situation. So the most important one is to make sure you know exactly where someone is subject to Social Security. So determining the country in which someone has to pay contributions or is subject to Social Security is the most important one. And then actually everything else comes along. Like, what is the insurance coverage in case the insurance coverage is not as high as it was before, or as high as someone wanted it, or the intention was, then you usually can see whether you find additional insurances to take out in order to cover that up. The procedure and processes, and we will look at a couple of different situations, are different depending on what kind of group you are looking at. However, in principle, from a Social Security point of view, the process or the confirmations you usually have to look at is the A1, the COC, the certificate of coverage, or the continuation of voluntary Swiss Social Security, if it is from someone from Switzerland going abroad or working in a different country than Switzerland. Now, the continuation of voluntary Social Security contributions in one country, we don't only have that in Switzerland. There are other countries like France, Germany, and there are lots of other countries where you can have that or have that possibility as well. Therefore, it is worthwhile to check it. However, it's not in all the cases maybe the right solution to the situation. So always we have to keep in mind to look at where contributions in any case have to be mandatorily to be paid, and then seeing whether there is something you would like to have someone enrolled in addition or pay contribution in addition to get a said additional insurance coverage. The most important part, if we look at Social Security in an international context, is to look at whether there is a treaty in place or not. So our world, so to speak, we split in treaty countries and not treaty countries. Keep in mind, if you look at that on an international level, that you have to first see where the individual, in which country the individual had been paying contributions or is covered in the Social Security, because that is then the country also you have to look at where where you need to look at the treaty, or it's the residence country. So you have to determine the original or the origin country, and then to see whether the destination country, whether there is a treaty with both countries involved. Sometimes that's not that easy to determine where the country is, where you have to look at whether there is a treaty in place or not. We have listed down on that slide the treaties which are in place, and I'm sure if you had been attending one of our webinars or seminars, you've seen that slide already from us, where we have on the right-hand side, better to say with the bronze colored two columns, that is about the EU member states, basically, where we have either the EU agreement or EFTA agreement, and the blue, the columns in blue, this is about where we have bilateral agreements in place. So we always have to look at which treaty actually we need to use or can use in order to see what the Social Security consequences are. I said in the beginning that we have to look at, or that we will look at different groups where we think that the highest challenges, so to speak, or things which might be not completely correctly outlined already, needs to be taken care. And one group of employees is definitely the business travelers. Now, the business travelers, I think, should be in any case a bit in a focus in regard to the immigration part, where, as far as I see, not everything is maybe as it should be in some of the companies. The Social Security topic is not that much an issue based on maybe a gap of insurance coverage or a gap of contributions. It's more a matter of the formalities involved, which sometimes are not really taken care. Let us look at the sample we provided here. It's Peter Müller, Swiss national. He's employed at the IT Consulting AG in Zurich, and he has to go on business trips several times a year. Usually a business trip is about 2 to 5 days. The countries he is going to is Italy, France, Austria. So basically they are all EU member states. So if we look at that, we can use the agreement of free movement, the EU agreement, in this regard. Based on that, if he's going to on those business trips, in principle, he will remain in the Swiss Social Security system. He will remain in all the insurance branches, because all of them are indicated in the EU agreement, and he will be exempted from Social Security liability in all of those countries. So there is no need that contributions need to be paid there. But in order that also from a formal point of view, everything is in line, the IT Consulting AG, the Swiss entity, needs to take out or request the A1 for him so that he has the A1 for Italy, for France, and Austria. Usually you can do that in one turn and can even request that for 12 months if someone is going regularly in each of those countries. You can combine that when you request the A1. So there is no problem at all for that. With the A1, basically that is just the confirmations for if he's going on a business trip to Italy, France, or Austria. If they will check on it, they see that he is subject to Social Security in Switzerland and not in either of the other countries. So it's basically just a confirmation, which sometimes is required from the legal entity someone is going to from the first day. Sometimes they don't even ask for it, but in case you will be checked or the individual is checked, he needs to be able to provide that from day one. We have the same rule if someone is coming to Switzerland. We also need to have the A1 in place from day one. And in case there is a labor market control, they will request that from day one. For determining what you need to do, so basically business travel, it is just a matter of which kind of form we have to apply for when someone goes abroad. We need to check on nationality, the country of residence, the country in which the employer is situated, and then where he will go, as well as the periods, to see what kind of treaty we can use. What we usually recommend is that someone going on a business trip as well has an international health insurance coverage, even though so the Swiss health insurance will be kept and someone will keep his home health insurance. However, being abroad, being in another country, sometimes it's not that easy to use the home country in health insurance. Therefore, if you have an international one, you are better covered. Sometimes that's also in the travel insurance covered as well. Companies have taken out for their employees. So this, I think, is quite easy. The topic where we most likely, at least looking last year and thinking now what will be this year, we have to focus a bit more is on all those cross-border employees or international weekly commuters. Let us look at the sample here. Lisa Meyer is a German national, is employed at IT Consulting AG in Zurich and is residing in Germany. She would like to work as many days as she can from home. We had last year, it was implemented a new rule, the 50% rule. Before, I think we somehow got to know or understood the rule, the 25% rule, meaning someone can work for up to 25% in their home country without the switch from the social security system. Looking at that sample, so Lisa Meyer would be able to work 25% in Germany and still be subject to Swiss Social Security because her employer is in Switzerland. In case she would work more from home, then the switch would have to be done from the Swiss system to the German system, which is in principle not really a big issue. It's just that employers try to not be involved in a payroll from another country because of its additional cost. It's in another country. They have not that much knowledge about. the social security coverage is different, the contributions are different. You also have the situation that in case something happens and the employee has an accident or is longer sick, then the continuation and the coverage will be not based on the Swiss system, on the system they know and everybody is treated, but on the other one. Therefore, employers tend to see that employees are covered really in the system they know, so where the employer is also registered and situated. In case she works those 25% from home, then basically what you might need is the A1, because there might be a check on it, and then she needs to provide to show that she is paying Social Security contribution in Switzerland and not in Germany. However, the problem is usually that even if you state that someone should work only 25%, if we keep that rule for the moment, and not more, at the beginning of the year, during the year, maybe the situation might change. The employee might has to work more or wants to work more, doesn't think about the restriction any longer. And then you may have the situation at the end of the year that those 25% have not really been kept. As you as an employer have a kind of obligation to make sure that someone is enrolled in the right system, you should, or at least that's what we advise, that you go back to the employees and get a confirmation from each of them that they have not worked more than those 25% in their home country. With that, you know exactly that those who have actually considered the rule, and you know exactly the individuals who haven't, and then you're in a position to discuss that with them and see how to move forward, and also to check with the other country about any kind of risk. Therefore, that is quite important for cross-border employees and international weekly commuters to see that you are in a position to actually really know the situation of each of the individuals. During the year, the 50% rule was also implemented. In the beginning, we thought that is actually perfect and the real great thing for this year and for the future, because we understand that people don't want to come to the office that much any longer, and also cross-border employees would like to stay more home than coming to the office. From a technical point of view, or from their job, that is usually not an issue. However, people don't like to switch to their home social security sometimes, as well as I just said, employers don't really want to go that road as well. Now, the 50% rule is, however, with a couple of restrictions. And with that, it's not, how shall I say, the fascination about it kind of was damped a bit based on that, because it's really, the 50% is really basically for someone who just works from home. So if Lisa Meyer, if we take that sample, is only working from home those 50% and then otherwise just coming to the office in Zurich, then we could use the 50%, meaning she can work up to 50% from home and without the switch to the social security system in Germany. In case now Lisa Meyer has also to go maybe to the German legal entity, or has to meet clients in Germany, or is working maybe from time to time in an office in another EU member state or other state, then the 50% cannot be used. We have to go back to the 25%. Therefore, it's you have to understand the situation and to look at all the aspects in order to make sure that you really have the all the information and can assess whether the 25% rule or the 50% rule can be applied. Also, not all the EU member states have agreed on it, and still not all of them have agreed. They still can. It depends on whether they want them, but some of them, as listed below, have not and most likely will also never agree on it. Or for those countries, just the 25% rule can be used. Therefore, you have to keep both rules in mind when looking and assessing the situation. The other topic, which will most likely be one we have to look at on a daily basis, is workation. I'm not sure whether in your companies workation has been implemented or how many days you allow someone to work from abroad, but that is something which I think either way, either you would like to allow it or not, you need to take have an opinion on it and make a decision for your entity. And not for every company it is the right thing to do or the best thing to do. If we look at that sample here, Nina van Beeren is a Dutch national, is employed at IT Consulting AG in Zurich, and is residing in Switzerland. She would like to accompany her husband on his 2 month assignment to Spain. As she's working on an important project, she asked whether she can work out of Spain during this period. Now, workation is not only about Social Security. Social Security is just one aspect of it. The major aspect is usually the immigration part. If we leave the immigration outside of it, so Nina van Beeren would be able to work based on, you would do the necessary posted worker notification for her, and therefore everything would be okay. Now, from a Social Security point of view, we would use the aspect here that we say she is kind of assigned to Spain to work in Spain, which is only partially true, because basically the intention is coming from the employee and not from the employer. However, we would use that and request the A1 for her so that she is covered during that period, saying as well that Swiss Social Security will be subject to Swiss Social Security while she is working in Spain. Based on the fact that in the treaty all the insurance branches are covered, so nothing has to be done in addition. Also, in that case, we would recommend that she would take out an international health insurance coverage, just in case something happens, that she has the sufficient coverage and does not have to worry about any kind of cost. Whether now the international health insurance is something you as an employer would like to take out, or you say no, that is actually a matter for the employee because it's the intention from the employee to go and work in Spain, both is absolutely fine. From my point of view, my personal point of view, as long as the travel or the request to work somewhere abroad is coming from the employee, in my opinion, the employee should also cover the cost. You just can say that you recommend it, so just to be on the safe side. In the end, it's the health insurance in Switzerland, at least, it is a private affair. You will have to look at in other countries maybe and have a different standpoint on it because in some countries, health insurance is also something the employer has to take care. Now, if there is no social security treaty in place or the social security treaty is not covering all the branches, you would have to assess the situation then in a bit more detail to look at it. But basically, if someone wants to go to work in one of the EU member states and we can use the EU agreement, then there is, from a social security point of view, not really a problem. It's just that a matter of formality that you have to request the A1. The group of permanent remote working we see growing day by day because it is something that people are, even they say they are quite flexible and would like to move from one country to another country without any problems, but still they are the kind of, I don't know, more intention of people that they want to stay with their family, stay at home, and don't really want to move from one country to the other country. And because of the lack of skilled people, you find yourself then in a situation that you need to think about that if you would like to hire that individual, that you have to find a solution if he doesn't want to move to the country where you are situated, as well as to find a situation or find a solution how to do it best and not with too much cost, too much administration involved as well. If we look at that sample here from Albert Perron, is residing in France with his family. He is also, or he would like to, should be employed by IT Consulting AG as a social media manager. He doesn't want to move to Switzerland, and from a job perspective, he can do that from anywhere, also from France. Based on that, he was asking whether he can work solely out of France. Yes, he can, because basically from an immigration point of view, if we say that he is a French national, then he is allowed to work in France, and then you as an employer have just to, if you don't have a legal entity in France, you just have to find a payroll provider running for you the payroll in France for the individual, and then everything is basically okay. I mean, one additional thing is as well that you have to look at the employment contract and make sure that French labor law is considered, as well as that for anything else, you need to keep in mind the mandatory French regulation. Social security wise, he will be subject to the social security liability in France, meaning the contributions have to be paid in France as the French legislation says it. So employee and employer contributions will be split as based on French regulation. Because he is then not subject to Swiss social security, even the IT Consulting AG is in Switzerland, the French regulation will come into place. So salary continuation based on sickness and accident will be based on French regulation and not the Swiss one. And that is something where you then find yourself in a situation that each employee will be treated the same way. The same thing as we just looked at for cross-border employees or international weekly commuters. But I think it is something we have to look at because of the demand of skilled employees and the demand or the situation that we can't find everywhere the right person or in our own, just in front of our door, the right person always. What I have to say is if you set up the permanent remote working thing, then in the beginning, you might think it's, oh, that is so much administration, that is so much work to do for the setup, which is true. However, if it once is running, then there is really no problem at all. And it's quite important that you look at to find the right provider for you, which understands you as a foreign company basically, as well as you understand him, so that the communication is well. And the last group, basically, I would like to look at you quickly is assignments. This is still a topic. There are still assignments. We see rather it's shorter term assignments than longer term assignments, but we see still both of it. Silvio Merano is an Italian national and is employed at IT Consulting AG in Zurich. He will be assigned now for 3 years to the US with his family. So for him, it's not an issue. It's something usually each company has its own processes to determine whether someone can be still remaining in the Swiss social security system while on assignment or not. In this case, not a problem at all because there is a social security treaty between Switzerland and the US. Therefore, he can be subject to Swiss social security while working in the US. However, in the treaty, there are not all the insurance branches listed. Therefore, for those who are not listed, we have to look at in the US, here in that example, whether there is a social security liability in those. If yes, there might be contributions to be paid. And then as well, you will need to find a solution how those contributions will be paid. I mean, if they are employer contributions, then there's no problem at all. If they are employee contributions, then you will have to check on whether that is something the employee should pay as well, or you would like to take over from an employer perspective. If you take it over, you need to keep in mind that that is then a taxable benefit and needs to be crossed up according to tax and social security. Definitely there as well, you have the request or the need to request the appropriate confirmations. Like in that case, it will be the certificate of coverage. Going to the US again is, I think, for everybody quite well known that you definitely have to have an international health insurance to be on the safe side. Now here, because it's an assignment and assignments are based on a request from the employer, usually the employer also pays the international health insurance contributions, and that is something I definitely would recommend to do. What you also have to look at, and what quite often gets forgotten, is the coverage of the family. So you will have to see how the family is covered and what the situation is, and also check on their health insurance coverage as well as social security coverage, and then discuss it with them. And wherever you can do something, then you can take care of the formalities, for example. Though those are the groups we see, we will in our global mobility world have definitely in the focus this year, and maybe the input here might help you with the challenges for those situations. We are also already coming to the end of today's Coffee and Consulting. In case you have any kind of questions, then just let me know and we will discuss them right now. Or if you want, you can also drop us an email and we are happy to answer your questions thereafter. I see that there is for the moment no question at all from anybody. So I assume that was quite clear. Please see as well on the right hand side, you have the possibility to download the slides, as well as you can also have a look at it again later, because it is you can find it then on YouTube. If you have at a later stage still some questions, then just let us know and send us the questions. We're happy to answer them. So then before I close today's Coffee and Consulting, I just would like to take 1 minute from you to show you what you will find from us, or what we will do this year. The next webinar will be on the 30th of January. It will be also about Social Security, but in German this time. It's about working in several countries and the risk in regard to Social Security. And our next seminar is only in March, and there we will tackle the topic about employment of cross-border employees as well as international weekly commuters, with all the different topics around it. And last but not least, the next time our Coffee and Consulting will be next month, beginning of February, and hopefully you will join again. We are happy to see that you're all back and healthy, and we wish you now a wonderful week and hope to see you soon at one of our next events. Thank you for your attention.